So maybe in response to this Jason Schreier Kotaku GameStop Circle of Life article, I guess people are talking about the future of GameStop. And with the future of GameStop, one of the reasons it'll eventually crumble to the ground, people hope so. I'd rather see the company change for the better, but what have you. You know, it's going to end eventually. I've said it before. Could be 10 years, could be 5, could be 20, but GameStop will go under at some point, or else radically shift how they operate, like a Radio Shack has, for example. But people are postulating about the future of gaming, and with that, you have to talk about digital versus physical media. And someone who I like from the kind of funny, I guess, YouTube channel, and they do podcasts, Colin Moriarty, who's a gaming journalist. He also gets into politics sometimes. I enjoy listening to his take on things. He had a Colin Was Right video editorial, I guess, about digital games being sort of inevitable. Inevitable. GameStop's slow demise and the all-digital future. So this is was a pretty well put together argument about the, and there's the audio from it. I still can't get this new laptop in sync with me actually turning off the audio correctly. There it is. But what Colin argues in this 14-minute, 30-second editorial is that GameStop's going to be dead in the future, which I agree with, by the way. But the all-digital future is going to contribute to that if we just embrace it right now. We just grab on and squeeze onto it. You know, digital is going to be coming for us. Physical media is going to go by the wayside. And he actually responded to me on Twitter, and I disagreed why I think we will never get to an all-digital future, at least while we're alive. I don't think we're going to get there. We may get to a point where games will be majority sold via digital sale versus physical. Maybe even dominated, maybe even like 80%. But I don't think it's ever going to disappear entirely, especially for bigger AAA titles or any Nintendo title of any sort. That's my argument, but I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what some of the back and forth we had here, and what the main gist of Colin's argument was that one of the reasons this is going to go bye-bye is because publishers are going to see digital as a sales advantage versus physical games, because obviously the production cost is non-existent with digital versus physical media. You don't have to make the disc, print out the cases. You don't have to print out the manuals. You don't have to pay people to put them into fucking boxes and ship them out. And that's a little eyelash Make-A-Wish. You don't have to do any of that. You don't have to worry about wholesaling them to stores like GameStop, and then they obviously take a cut. So you get less money from your overall sale. So Colin's arguing that on the digital storefront, you're going to make more money. And of course, PSN's going to take a cut. Nintendo's shop will take a cut of sales, Microsoft shop, etc. Of course, they take a cut. But the argument that Colin laid out, and he had some nice little graph and chart showing it. I don't know off the top of my head, but he said even at a lower cost of say $50, in theory, the profit margin would still be higher for a AAA publisher on that game versus them charging $60 for that game to be sold in a store like Target or GameStop or Amazon, which is a fine point because, even though there is a small profit margin for stores like Target or GameStop, they're making less than $10 on that. So that's basically part of the inflated price he's talking about versus a lowering your price of $50. And he's talking about, okay, at $50, you might sell more copies, which is a fine argument. It's just one I disagree with. This is why I don't think that you're going to see that anytime soon. So far, for new releases, there has been no publisher that was gracious enough, if you can say that, to give up pure profits and say, all right, that $60 physical title out there that we're selling in brick and mortar stores, we're going to drop the price to $50 on it on day one of release. Hell, you haven't even seen a $5 price drop for the most part on these AAA titles. to give people an incentive, which I already said that there should be some sort of drop. I don't know what. Of course, there's always sales at some point, but I'm talking the first month or two when you're making the vast majority of your sales on these new games. You're not seeing that. I think these companies are afraid. They're afraid of a few things. They're afraid of losing money, which they will, but they're also afraid of taking that big risk. And it is a risk. Do you see Rockstar, who moves, tens of millions of their GTA games? Is it worth their risk to say, okay, we can sell maybe 10% or 15% more games at a $50 digital price point versus a $60 digital price point? Do you think they like the idea of even trying to go into that, sort of tiptoe into that world of marketing research on a game of that scale? Because if in the world of marketing research, and I don't even remember what these terms are, and I used to, it's price point analysis. It's analysis where you find the point where you're more likely to get sales at a lower price. Which makes sense. And companies do that. If companies are selling peanut butter, and if they can sell, say normally the jar of peanut butter is $3. If they figure out they can sell twice as many at $2.75, then of course they're going to do it. Of course they're going to make that jump and do that. If it's twice as many and the profit margin is still decent. But what if they only sell 10% more at $2.75? Then all of a sudden they're losing money by offering at a lower price. Unless you do that analysis before for that magic lower price point to make up the loss in profit, even though there's more sales, you're taking a huge risk. And I don't see any company willing to do that, at least without some sort of repercussions. Because what happens if you're a CEO at a company that's publicly traded, or even not, a private company, you're a higher up, and all of a sudden your profits take a fucking wash and take a bath compared to what they did last time because you decided to go to that lower price point of $10 less on digital. Your gambit is that the people buying all the physical copies are going to just rush into the digital one. But what if they don't know about that digital game for that lower price point? People at GameStop are saying pre-order $60. People at GameStop ain't going to tell them. Target's not going to tell them. Walmart's not going to tell them. So either they found out on their own about that new Madden game being offered for less money with $10, which I don't think is going to happen anyway, because again, they're giving up pure profits. But there's no guarantee you're going to push those people there and get them over there. All the commercials on TV, and all the promotions for, pre-order WWE 2K17 and unlock Goldberg, those incentives come from the fact that there's partnerships with brick and mortar stores. When I got LA Noire, I think I ordered was it the GameStop version or the Target version, which offered a couple of free missions that were thrown into that version or not. So I think there's always going to be incentives because of these relationships with these retailers you don't want to piss off. Now, eventually they're going to be gone anyway, but they got to work with each other still right now. Even though the publisher's still going to make their money with physical, even though the profit margin may be higher, even at a lower cost digital, they still got to sell a mass amount to these people here in these brick and mortars. And that's not going to change anytime soon. I just don't see it happening. Never mind the fact that the huge advantages of owning a physical game versus digital, it's not even close. And this is even taking account, we'll even take into account the fact that in theory, we'll say 80 years from now, you can get a discount, a $10 discount on a AAA title at $50 versus $60. All right? So in your head right now, you have $10 in your wallet. Where's my wallet? I'm wearing lounge pants that I don't have my wallet on. Okay. You have an extra $10 in your pocket right now because in theory, you bought GTA 8, the Coney Island Adventure, DLC add-on included. I don't know. You bought GTA 8 for $50 instead of $60 like your idiot friend did at GameStop. Or now it's just Radio Shack. Radio Shack bought out GameStop in 2028. So you have the extra $10 in your pocket. Is it worth what you're giving up? Is it worth the fact that, say you get the Coney Island DLC version of GTA, you don't like it. If you have that digital version, what are you going to do? Can you easily sell that version? Can you return it? No, you cannot. If you have a physical version, you can throw it right up on eBay or Amazon and get a good chunk of your money back. Depending upon the game, you can get 90 to 95% of that profit back, the entire portion of the retail price, especially in that first couple weeks when games are getting blown out at $60 and you put up at $54, $55, you get that money back minus, the 13% PayPal fees, but it's not a total loss there. You can't do that. You already that $10 in your pocket, it's already gone from buying that digital one. Now you can say, they're going to figure out how to do digital resale and trade-ins. Yeah, okay. They haven't yet. Remember the debacle of the Xbox One? When they were saying, we're going to DRM all our games, but you can trade them with your friends and you can share them. That went over well. So well that within a day and a half at E3, Microsoft about faced on the entire thing because the backlash was extreme. Because you're looking at an awful form of DRM if you want to do that. And then, do you think the publishers will want to do that? Will the publishers easily say, we're going to allow people to trade their digital games to each other instead of having our shops open where they can just buy more versions of that digital game? What do you think is the most likely scenario? Or if they allow the resale, they're going to take another chunk out of that. They'll say, we'll allow you to sell back that game you bought for $50, but we're only give you $10 credit for it. Versus you having the disc yourself, and you can just sell it, whatever you want, because that's what we've done, that's what's smart, and you have full control of the media you bought. That's not worth the $10 to me. It probably isn't to you either. It just isn't. And even talking about trading games, like I said, can't do that easily without physical. Letting someone borrow your game, think you'll figure that out for digital? What if you want to even just give it to your friend for the night? If anyone out there can have a nice plan laid out digitally, how that could even come to even half the advantage of physical media, I'm all headphones. I'm all ears to listen about how we can accomplish that without the publishers getting involved or without Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo taking a massive cut of all that action. Because right now at physical, we're cutting all the big corporations out of what we do with our media. We have total freedom with physical media to do what we want. So I think that alone is going to, I strongly hope, because I will be on the front lines of that one, will obstruct the all-digital game revolution being inevitable. Because if there was a huge backlash against it only a handful of years ago, or less than a handful, I expect that to happen the next time it's attempted, if it even is. I expect that. So yeah, let's see. A couple of notes here. Companies won't give up their profits willy-nilly. No, they won't. They won't do that. They'll say, the board member at EA is not going to go, we're going to lower our cost of, our price of $50 because we're going to be nice guys and do that. Well, they won't do that. They want their monies. They have stockholders. They have stock prices. This isn't lemonade stand time. This is big business. Not saying we win because of that. We don't. But this is another reason why it's not going to happen that easily. Or if it does, you're not going to win out, consumer. You're going to lose if we go to all digital games, which is why I don't think it's going to happen, because we're going to fight against it. You're also saying goodbye to a used game market. Again, I don't see a digital used game market happening. The used game market is sort of the budget gamer's paradise, because you can walk into your GameStop or your Luna Video Games a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and buy a cheap game and try it out on a whim for $10 or $5. If it was a popular title like, what does Metal Gear Solid 5 go for nowadays? A game that people like that game, right? PS4 Metal Gear Solid 5. I can buy Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, Right now, buy it now for $13.44. One of the bigger games on the PS4. Could I buy it for that cheap? First of all, could I buy that cheap on the digital store at this point? Probably not. Probably not. But it's just that sort of the freedom to use my money the way I want to more and not be sort of handcuffed by an all-digital reality. I just don't like that idea. Yeah, of course, again, there's always sales, but could I do that? Could I walk to the flea market and find a digital game for $1 or $2 that someone just wants to get rid of? No. Can you imagine an all NES digital world that I couldn't have bought these games and wasted years and years of my life and thousands of dollars to buy? But anyway, do you imagine? You can't imagine that. That's an awful reality in the future. Which brings me to my next point. Speaking of ugly gray carts, game preservation. I think there's a minor pushback now in terms of the reality we now are with mobile games that are shut off and now locked down on individual phones that you have to find in the future. You know, games that EA have. E and I spoke about I think 1 or 2 EA games that are gone now. You can't get anymore. You can't download or are tied to servers. But is that another reality you want to be in, that you then have to hunt down in the future to play certain PS4 games or PS5 games or Wii U games? You'll have to search out certain consoles that have these only downloaded games on that console itself. That sounds fucking awful. Now, yes, you'll say, well, Pat, with new games, you got to buy them and download shit anyway. I understand that. But I think that's a scenario we're going to get around, and I think in the future, 10 years from now, they're going to allow servers to exist where you can download that information to have them function at least. At least function. But there's plenty of games out there, even in the modern generation, where you can pop it in and just play it. Because a lot of the downloads for a lot of these titles, don't happen right away. We're not talking about, of course, Ubisoft games where the whole game comes out and you have to patch it. But I think we're going to get around that, where you still have to have that disc there and you can still experience some portion of the game. I could be wrong, but I still see that happening. Nintendo's usually all right about that, but then again, I haven't bought a new Nintendo game since Mario Kart 8. You also got to worry about, in a digital-only world, the fact that you are using bandwidth to push these games to people, and of course to download them. And unless we get to some sort of future where there's fiber optic cable everywhere, that's going to be a big disadvantage of people that live in rural areas, developing areas, transitioning from third to second world countries, or second to first world countries, where you don't have a healthy infrastructure, where physical games is really your only choice, because you either don't have the speed to download something that's 10 gig in size, or it could take you 3 weeks, or you don't have the bandwidth. Or what if you have a data cap? What if you have a data cap? And data caps exist right now, even if you have a good service. So these are not good it's not a good option. I mean, you'll get to all digital maybe if you say, yeah, we're going to be connected everywhere. But there's always going to be situations where it'll be advantageous to go physical. What about the military? Even just in our country, let alone other countries. We have like 1 million people in our military. And some of them, they go on ships somewhere, forward operating bases in deserts over there in the Middle East. And they want a game too. They have the right to do that. What's easier? For people like them, what are their choices? They want to get a new game. They grab a few discs, they go. Otherwise, they got to have everything preloaded on their console, and they might be out there in deployment for a year. What if something comes out? They can't get it mailed to them. They got to download it, and they have no internet in the desert somewhere. Or their internet's so fucking slow they can't do it. These are realities we're living with right now that if you think they can be solved, if you think we can solve them easily, and you can guarantee a lower price point for all these games to make it worth the fact that I'm giving up the freedom to do what I want with my physical media I bought and to sell it later or to trade it or let someone borrow it, again, I'm all ears, but I don't see it happening. I just picked up a pretty mediocre game called Die Hard. I just don't see it happening. There is my buddy Chris Kohler, friend of the podcast, because he's friends with Ian too, from Wired, previously of Wired. I think unfortunately he was let go. He tweeted an article during this conversation in 2013. A study: killing used games could be profitable or suicide. And the study that was done by marketing professors of the New York University Stern School of Business and someone from the University of Toronto's Rotman School of Management. That's a bad name for a school of management, Rotman. It was called Dynamic Demand for New and Used Durable Goods Without Physical Depreciation. The Case of Japanese Video Games. So it went over the fact that, video game producers have long seen used games as a threat to them because they see it as lost profits for people not using that money that would go into used games to buy new ones. But there's no guarantee that would actually even happen, though, because they could either not just buy those new games if there was no used game market. They don't have the money to do it for reasons I just stated. Because all right, there's a $60 new game out that I got to take a chance on versus a $5 or $10 game that I might like, and that's a much bigger, much smaller drop in the bucket to buy and take a chance on. It also is a return of your dollar, which is what I said, and which is what this study said, because the used goods market, in quotes, provides owners with an opportunity to sell their products. They get the money back so they can rebuy your shit, publishers. So you're not losing money. You're actually gaining new customers by selling us physical media. I can buy GTA, what was I saying? GTA 18, 17? 2028. I can buy that game, sell it for $40, and then have the money then from that sale, which you didn't lose money on. I sold it to someone else. I can now buy Calvin Ball 2029 by EA. Yes, a Calvin Ball game will be out by then. I will make it. So then the publisher's not losing. They're actually winning by keeping the money inside this sort of pool, this gigantic pool of used games and new games. So that's a great point as well that I think I stated before previously. So that's just a disagreement I had with Colin on this. But check out his argument though. See if you agree that the digital revolution is inevitable. Can I even say that without sounding like Kim Jong-il from that freaking America movie? America. I don't know. But check out his video. Hopefully I can talk to the dude and meet him in the future. Seems like a really smart, sharp guy. And wish I'd eat around here to sort of keep me in line and sort of keep me more structured. But I think I did okay there off the top of my head. I don't know. Maybe I didn't.